Whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we're just looking at some of the best painted armies here. We've switched over to being in the field, and we start off with a beautiful KO force, Caradron Overlords, lovingly converted, obviously, to be part of a sort of almost Necromunda-inspired gang. This is a converted oil drum. We can see lots of great work here with his allies down there who are clearly at a rave and partying. When I look at this army, what I see is a lot of loving conversions. I'd like to draw everybody's attention as we're zooming across this to just the head swaps for all the different elements to make them look like they're underground dwellers. Lots of like the little Jawa eyes. When we look up at the care placed in the display board to weather everything, to connect it all together, it really tells a whole story. This is one of the things I look for in the display portion of how I vote, or how I rank things, I should say. And coming up to the big ironclad, old ships, clearly weathered. He did a great job capturing a lot of that grime, that grit, that dirt that's on models. So really, really nice look. The Thunderers there. The cops, of course, coming into the gang, trying to break up here. Everything here tells a story, and that's what I like. As you go down, you see more and more about the individual elements of the army. So I just love that he has extra guys here that even lead John. All right. Next up, we've got a Cities of Sigmar force, Anvil Guard, that should look very familiar to everyone, as it was on stream earlier, with a very, very, very large Dreadlord on Black Dragon. He might be slightly larger than regulation size, but still very nice. Great painted army, wonderful use with all the knights. The central figure, you always want the centerpiece of your army to be something very eye-catching, to be the thing that stands out. A bit of advice for people painting armies: always make sure you spend the most time on your characters, your centerpieces. That's what the judge is going to look at and judge a lot more strictly than, say, your rank and file block of infantry of 40 dudes. And I think that he really succeeded on that here. The dragon's a very strong piece and very much stands out amongst the crowd. So great. All right, next up we have the Aussie War Gamer. We've got to step back to capture all of this to bring it in frame. It's our mixed destruction list. Absolutely fantastic. Crazy, crazy conversions everywhere as this massive pirate ship sets sail in a treasure chest. Wonderful, wonderful army. As you can see, almost everything touched has been converted, has been piratized. His regular orcs, these all are the models he uses on the table. They can jump over. They bring their ropes with them, so they're still swinging around the table. We've got lots of really great conversions. The Iron Blasters, the Lord on Wyvern, Ogres, the whole deal. So this is just absolutely what you see what I see when I look at a force like this is an absolute labor of love. Somebody who had a clear idea of something they wanted to do and say, and they've gone to a lot of effort and really succeeded at communicating that to us. And we're all lucky to see it, so it's great. Okay, so now we're going to move this way. We're going to start here with some Iron Jaws. Always good to see the jaws on the table. Very eye-catching. So yellow and purple on the big Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. Yellow and red around, so the Mega Boss really strikes out as he's using that complementary color scheme. These guys look nice and old, rusty, beaten up. Their armor's clearly seen some use. Good capture there of the wear and tear. All right, next up we have some Idnith Deepkin. Great looking army here. I love the color scheme. The use of individual bright colors with the fluorescence very much makes it feel underwater. What I'm fascinated by with this army, with Kent's work, is that he desaturated everything down. So you look at the bases, the display board, the colors, everything feels dark and dim as though it's deep underwater. But then it's got those little pops of color like a phosphorescent light that you would often see on bioluminescent underwater creatures. So very, very cool touches that really tells a great story. Okay. So next up, we have Forces of Hammerhall. Always awesome to see. Great conversion. The display board especially, as he pulls out, you'll see there is very striking because we've got the door opening, and he's actually used the art from the book there to capture the city of Sigmar behind, where we see Azir on the other side of the door or whatnot. Awesome work. Beautiful cities army, lots of very bright colors. Truly feels like a classic take on this army. You know, because a lot of these figs come from previous editions, but they feel very updated, like they're part of this new city. They're not just something that is still trying to represent an age gone by. Speaking of ages gone by, that isn't to say we can't still have an incredible time with a big old castle and some beautiful forces here. So this is Nultdorf. You can see it's being invaded by Skaven underneath, which I was happy to see. I'm sure the Skaven will win. But here we got a really nice force. I love the classic colors. They're well executed, balanced out very well with all the blues and yellows. Lots of strong primaries that really draw the eye in. That's great stuff. So very, very nice work overall at our city. Okay, so next up we have one obviously near and dear to my heart, as this is a Slaanesh force. But this is an absolutely beautiful force. So when we look here, what I want to impress upon the viewer at home is all of the metalwork is non-metallic and quite carefully done. The skin that I noted, like what jumps out to me about this army is the pop. I talk a lot about how your colors have to be bright, they have to be strong, you need contrast, and that's here in spades. Between the non-metallic metal, but also in the individual elements of the daemonettes, they have very bright faces. Your eyes are drawn to them very efficiently. The skin colors are very smooth and well blended. So all in all, it's an absolutely great looking army. We've combined elements of OSL onto the base. So there's little bits of glow and things like that scattered around to have additional discoveries. I talk a lot about the 10-1-1 rule. Catch my eye at 10 feet, interest me at 1 foot, and amaze me at 1 inch. And I think that's an army that's absolutely doing that. All right, next up, some Idneth Deepkin. Wonderful force. Again, IDK just suits to great painting so well. And here we see a lot of sharks, and what I love is the sharks have gotten realistic patterning. So we see the whale sharks currently on frame. We can scoot over to the other side. We'll see the reef sharks on within the frame. I love it that he's captured those real patterns so well. Stuff like that absolutely grabs my attention again when I get close and I notice that the person has taken care to recreate something for me that I recognize. And we cannot leave this one behind without seeing the greatest hero, the hero we both deserve and need, Lotan, running his dive bar underwater. Absolutely great conversion, wonderful use of that hero. So really beautiful force. Okay, next up, a very wintry, and this is one of those armies that has emotion because it's so set in a single color scheme. It's almost monotone, but it's gripping how well he's moved through the colors throughout the force. Also, as I'm sure you can obviously see on frame right now, really beautiful, well-executed conversions. The Tree Lord Ancient with Nagash's cloak resting up on top there. The Lady Olander Branch Witch or Wraith. I don't know which one it is, but she's one of those. And then, of course, our Arch Revenant down there that's on camera right now. This is just really great. I love when people use really desaturated tones, but then bring me back in with the conversions with the pop. This is a strong one. I like this one a lot. Okay, next up, another Slaanesh army. Absolutely great. Here we see a slightly different take on it, where we've, instead of going for something like non-metallic, we've instead went for the colored metallics. And yet again, I find this is a really striking thing to do. I think a lot of people just, they see steel, they see gold, and they just kind of make it that color. I love armies that explore like this, that show me something different, where they took that metal and went way into the blue steel. So Q Zoolander, we've got some hardcore blue steel here, and it really makes the army show well. All right, next up, our good friend Joe Pagano. His army was on stream in round 1. Here it is in close-up so you can see it. We talked about how well it was painted. Now you'll get a chance to really take a look at that. So here what I like about Joe's army is all the loving conversions that's done throughout. that make these guys feel like the story they're telling, where they do believe their knights, their narrative. You can see the Star Drake, the little bits of other shields and Stormcast and everything like that all over the place, hidden throughout the army. Little things to discover that still makes them feel like flesh eaters, but makes them feel like they used to be alive and someone else. All right, and finally, we have another city's army, a beautiful Hallowheart. I really like this one. Very traditional type of color scheme, but with a lot of new and interesting conversions, using different big dinosaurs like we see here for his Luminarch. Using the gyrocopters in the background to spice it up. This is the promise and the wonder of Cities of Sigmar to me, that we can bring these different forces together, capture them in a singular, well-executed scheme like this, bring in a lot of fun conversions, and really have something that's a cool army that's just yours. This is your take on the city, and I absolutely love it. So great work there. And that brings us to the end of all of these forces. So I hope you liked it. Some good model prawn there for you, but it's absolutely wonderful. Thank you to everybody. Hobby across this event's been amazing. We'll be back with the next round.